everybody, and welcome to the Nerdy Niche podcast. We are back and ready to put out some new episodes after a pretty long hiatus, but we are back, and we are very excited to talk to you about the new Pokemon games, Scarlet and Violet. They've been out a couple of months now, but we wanted to wait in order to be able to fully experience the games. I know I did it a couple of times, and just to be able to talk about the actual story and what we thought of the games. So to help me out with that, of course, is always my host, Mr. Edison. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing, Jeremy?
Oh, living another day in the life of a nerd, you know. So what's the nerdiest thing you did this week, sir? You haven't had to answer that question in a while.
I know, I haven't. For this week, it's just been, I think, kind of the same as you for the most part. I've been playing Midnight Suns on my PlayStation. And yeah, it's a really fun, like, Marvel strategy game, and I like those kind of games because it's, you know, you can just kind of set the controller down for a minute if you want to.
Yeah, you know, in the middle of a battle, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go get a drink. You don't have to like wait till the end of the fight or anything like that. You just go. I think that's actually partly the Pokemon player in us, is that have liking that sort of turn-based strategy.
Yeah, no, it's pretty fun, and it has a lot of like Marvel characters that you don't normally see, like Blade and Magic.
Nikamaru and Magic.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of really fun ones. Of course, the same ones everybody loves to play: Captain America, Iron Man, all those as well. Also, Captain Marvel. You know, you see her a lot, but you don't get to play her in a lot of games, so that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Also with us today, another fellow Poke fan here at the Nerdy Niche, Miss Sarah. How you doing today?
Doing all right. It's the weekend. End of the weekend.
End of the weekend. We're recording on a Sunday, so you know, for most of us, we got to take that big L and go back to work in the morning.
I did that today.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's my Monday.
Well, what's the nerdiest thing you did this week, Miss Sarah?
You know, I've just spent at least 24 hours playing Fallout 4 in a row.
Just hyper focusing in on that Fallout, huh?
Yeah. I didn't get the ending I wanted, and then I found a cool mod. So
I wish I had a computer good enough to run mods of things, but that's I never done the gaming computer thing. I've always been a console guy.
It was too hard to move with consoles, so I just switched to primarily PC.
That's the way you probably should do it. I think mostly being a Nintendo fan most of my life, and Nintendo being kind of the one that you can't really do on PC, it has kind of led me away from doing gaming PC stuff.
At least a lot of Nintendo stuff is handheld, though.
Yeah, but I think that kind of the Switch is now set Nintendo into a really weird design groove that they don't like, though.
Yeah,
because they had their handhelds and they had their you know consoles, and then they put them together. And now that they're trying to like come out with a new Switch, I think maybe they're trying to curb their behavior of like changing their systems completely, because they can't. If it's anything but a Switch now, I know I'm going to be upset.
Yeah.
If I have to buy two consoles again, I'm going to be very upset. Anyway, we are here to talk about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I think it's fair to say we're all pretty big Pokemon fans, played through pretty much every game. So let's go ahead and talk about first booting up the game. What were your guys' first impressions just walking in? First of all, did you guys walk in blind, not knowing the Pokedex or anything like that? Are you those kind of weirdos or?
No.
No, I was definitely looking at spoilers and leaks and rumors.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. I look at all sorts of rumors and stuff like that. I have a coworker who didn't want to know anything before watching the game, and I'm just like, how are you like this?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I do that a lot with like most things and most games and that kind of stuff. But for Pokemon, like, I feel like you kind of need to know, because you need to know, like, is this Pokemon going to evolve? Does it not evolve? Does it evolve in a weird way?
Yeah. And there were a lot that evolved in a weird way.
Yeah. Like, if you went in blind, how the hell would you get a King Gambit?
No.
or
Yeah,
a gimme, or
or gimme ghoul, yeah.
Yeah, or not a gimme goal, but a
Golden Go.
golden go.
Yeah,
golden go.
or like Bramblin, or even
Tommy Palmo, Palmot.
Yeah, Palmot.
Yeah.
How are you gonna get Palmot without knowing?
Yeah.
I purposely didn't look up the Pokemon, like the Pokedex, until I had the game, because I was kind of missing that like discovering new Pokemon thing that I had when I was like playing Red and Blue, but I did finally have to just start looking up like, how do I evolve this stupid thing?
Yeah, it gives me something to look forward to, more or less. Like I kind of look at, okay, that I want that, I want this thing, I want that thing. You know, it gives me like a roadmap to what I want. Yep. So I've always been a big fan of spoilers, and I'm just, I listen to YouTube all freaking day at work, and so what else am I gonna do besides listen to Pokemon content?
Yeah.
So walking into it, booting in the game, what were your first impressions? Let's go with that first.
Well, obviously, it was a really pretty Pokemon game. Like right out the gate, obviously there's, some technical things. But I really enjoyed it. I like that they kind of didn't do as much of the standard, like, this is how you play a Pokemon game. They made it go
wasn't as much hand holding.
Yeah, they made it go a bit quicker that way. And I liked the second you walk out and you just see Pokemon everywhere and like a whole bunch of different kinds, and they're on your map, like telling you, like kind of showing you what's there in the area. I really, it made me pretty stoked for the game, I would say.
I liked that you immediately had at least some character customization.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in the long term, they really should have added a lot more, right? But just booting it up immediately, getting into the game and being able to customize your character a little bit was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I was thinking of, was the customization right off the bat was amazing. I did make some weird choices. I had some weird facial expressions stuck on my face the whole game, but
Yeah. So what about you, Miss Sarah? What were your initial thoughts when you're booting up the game there?
I, am the kind of person who wants to explore all of the little nooks and crannies before going to the goalpost. So, kind of immediately having all of the Pokemon everywhere and all of the little, like, it was nice that there was kind of an enclosed area first, but you didn't have to go to your quest marker before you could just keep exploring.
Yeah.
So I did get distracted for a good while before I actually properly started.
Well, those early routes, I got distracted because there were a lot of like a wide variety of Pokemon.
Yeah.
On that very early route there.
I liked that, but then I also kind of felt like I saw everything that there was really early.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, really you're in that route. There's so many Pokemon, and in a way, it actually makes it a lot easier to do things in the future, like completing your Pokedex, because you just catch all the little things as you're going, and then you end up, the Pokedex has like over 400 in it, and just playing through the game, you end up with like probably over 250 or so.
Well, this is the first time. I'm only 2 Pokemon away from finishing my Pokedex. It's those trade evolutions that I still have left, but it's the first time I've ever gotten that close to finishing a Pokedex ever.
Yeah, and pretty effortlessly as well. Like it's really not a lot of effort in this game, I think, to do that. So how did you guys feel about? Because I know a lot of Pokemon games, for me, it takes a little bit of a long time. Hey, kitty. Can't go a single stream on the Nerdy Niche without a cat getting involved.
Of course not.
Or 2.
Or 2. There's another one right there. I purposely kept mine out.
Well, why would you do that?
I can't keep mine out.
In some Pokemon games, it takes quite a while to get to your starter, and I think this was a pretty good amount of time to get to your starter. I think it pretty much was just like, here's a little bit of a path, and here's your starter, and then you're kind of left on your own after that.
Yeah, it was definitely much more of a straight shot from. I mean, literally a straight shot from your house to Namona's house.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about Sun and Moon in particular, where it was just like, come on, when am I going to get my starter? Lots of story things happened before.
Yeah.
I kind of like that they let you wander around a little bit with all three of them too.
Yes, that was very cute.
Kind of let you get a little bit of personality. Yeah, I really like that. So let's go ahead and ask the big question: who was your starter? Ed, we'll start with you.
So my starter was Fuecoco, or however you want to say it, and which is one of the reasons kind of why I always have to know what I'm getting, because I need to know what my starter is going to turn into.
Starter evolution is definitely the most important.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. I don't know why anybody doesn't already know that stuff.
I know. I personally, my favorite Pokemon type is Ghost. So as soon as I found out that was a fire ghost, I was on board. So that was my starter.
What about you, Sarah?
I also went with the dumb crocodile. My typical pick for first Pokemon is the fire type, unless it evolves into something heinous, which has happened a couple of times, or if I'm tricked by a really cute otter that turns into a monstrosity. But I don't like the very costumed Pokemon, I guess. So both of the other two starters, Final Evolutions, were not it for me.
Samurai is one of those Pokemon that I point to be like, what happened here? Like
the first two are so great, and then
I know, I agree. I did the same thing.
I did it in Legends Arceus too. I picked Samurott because I was expecting, I hadn't looked at the Pokemon, and I was expecting something really cool and different, and it was not at all.
Yeah, poor Duat. Just, I mean, going from like a bipedal, like, ninja samurai looking thing into like a quadrupedal walrus.
And Oshawott was so cute.
It's just a very weird choice as far as that evolution kind of is concerned. How did you guys feel about the evolution line of Fuecoco?
I liked it. I felt weird about the middle stage. The middle stage was kind of a little bit too like clumpy, and the hat nest was weird.
I hated the middle evolution. It's ugly, and like it was fine, but Fuecoco was cute in a weird way. I think it looks like that little thing in that like weird like bubble puzzle game.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure some people are like, I know exactly what you're talking about from looking at that Pokemon, but its final evolution, Skeledirge, is really cool looking. It has the like the sugar skull on it. It's just like this big, it has it's just like a big crocodile, like fire crocodile with the sugar skull. Like it's pretty cool. It's weird that it's the singer Pokemon.
Yes.
So I actually have a theory about that definitely is not confirmed in any way or is technically lore, but it's canon in my head. So you know how it has the little firebird, right? Singing is much more closely associated with birds rather than like a crocodile. So my idea is that the egg is actually like a parasite, and the final crocodile is actually dead, and the husk is just being piloted by the firebird.
That's pretty gory, but also pretty dope.
And that's why it's the singing Pokemon, is because it's the bird is singing. It's just piloting the corpse of this crocodile that it killed. Hence the ghost typing as well.
Which
I like it.
Yeah, makes it like something that you could find in a Pokedex when it comes to a ghost type.
Yeah.
Like they're they're kind of dark.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes.
Some of the ghost type entries get pretty dark, yeah.
This kid wandered into a forest, and now he's a tree.
Well, like freaking Drifloom, it literally looks like a balloon so that it can kidnap children.
This Pokemon carries around the face that it had when it was alive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I did pick a different starter. I chose Sprigatito.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because I end up picking the fire Pokemon actually quite a lot of the time too. Mostly because it tends to coincide with fighting. And I was initially going to pick Quaxley because we found out early on it was going to be a fighting type, but I wasn't super into the early images of Quaxquavel. So I ended up going with Sprigatito, and I really like Sprigatito's design in particular, just a little weak kitty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She's really adorable, and then Florgato is really cool, and then I like Meowscarada, especially once you see it moving.
I don't mind Meowscarada.
Yeah, I know a lot of people hate the design, but that's probably actually the most used of the starters now.
Yeah, well, it's got a really good ability and stuff like that. I mean, it's got Protean, which isn't as good in this generation, but is still a really solid move, and it's really fast, and especially during playthroughs, like speed kind of matters the most.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And its special ability just ups its speed stat every time you use it, so that's really, really good too.
Does it? No, that
It
isn't.
does.
I thought that was the.
Oh, that's the critical hit. That's Quaquavel that does the speed stat. You're right.
Yeah.
But it never misses, and it's always critical, so that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Skeledirge's like special. Like,
yeah, his is probably the best one.
So good.
Yeah, his special move is the best one.
Yeah, because it's an 80 power fire move that ups your special attack, and it's a special move.
Yep.
So
Just keep singing at them until you bust their faces.
Yeah.
It's a slow Pokemon, but it's pretty sturdy. Like,
it's got a lot of tank to it to make up for being slow, which is the trade-off, because Meowscarada is really, really fast, but doesn't have the defensive stats really. So that's always kind of the trade-off. I mean, I think in terms of stats, actually, the one none of us chose, Quaquavel, is actually probably the best one.
Also,
yeah, the design is.
I actually think it's kind of cool. Like it's because of like what it's modeled after.
Yeah.
Because it's like a carnival like dancer,
Mm-hmm.
so it's the big like peacocky kind of.
It's flamboyant.
Yes.
It's better in motion.
So upright and human-y, costumey.
Yeah, it's better in motion. Like, and the reason I didn't choose it originally is just because like the still images that we got before the game came out, I did not like it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with most Pokemon, if you see a still image, it just doesn't really click in your head how it's going to work in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see it moving in the game the way that they animated it, and it looks a lot better.
That's how I felt about Bellybolt.
Yeah, Bellybolt too.
When I first thought, I was like, I don't like that. And
this game was full of them.
Yeah.
Like pretty full of a lot of Pokemon that I did not like the still images of, and then you see them in game, and you're like, okay, I get it now.
Mm-hmm. Like Golden Go, I love Golden Go, and like I hated the way it looked.
I mean, I still kind of hate the way it looks, but
Grafaiai.
Grafaiai a little bit too.
Better when it's moving.
Orthworm is one of those that I didn't expect to like.
Yeah.
It looked really like weird, and it's just a metal worm, but then you see it, and it's got like the little blue things that come out, and it looks a lot more like a Pokemon when you see it in motion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Anyway, so did you guys feel like you picked the right starter for your game?
Absolutely.
It's funny because I do and I don't, because so I played my playthrough a little different than I normally do, since I was looking through seeing what Pokemon were in. So Ghost has always been my favorite type, and I'm like, this time I'm gonna do a Ghost type lock essentially, but like played with a couple Pokemon like before I got all my Ghost team, but I decided to go Ghost, and I like Skeledoge a lot, but I ended up taking it off my team because I got Ceruledge, which is also a ghost fire.
Yeah.
So it didn't make sense to have them both on my team, even though one's a special attacker, one's a physical attacker. But I was enjoying Ceruledge a little bit more.
You abandoned your first partner.
I did.
Monster.
I've never done that before. Never done that before.
Yep.
Mine's at level 100.
Yeah.
Mine is too. I still like use it, but
still my team. It's still raising everybody else.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys going on these early routes. What were some of the Pokemon you caught that you wanted to use or you kept with you?
I really liked Lechonk, but I didn't keep using it after it evolved. I think the only kind of early-ish Pokemon that I kept on my team was Smoliv, just because it was, a good grass Pokemon kind of towards the beginning that I didn't otherwise have.
Yeah, our Believe was really good. I had one for quite a while, but I did end up switching it out just because I also already had Meowscarada. And its moveset isn't very spread out. Like, it's really focused in grass and normal type moves. And to me, a Pokemon to continue to be good has to have like a little bit of coverage for themselves.
Yeah.
And she just did not. But I really do like the design of it. I think that whole line looks really cute. I think you actually get another one where the still images just didn't quite do it justice. Cat butt.
She needs the shoulder.
Video is gonna get flagged just because there's like a cat butt on it.
Yeah, right.
No, it's covered. It's censored.
I didn't end up keeping Palma either, but I did use that one for a little while.
I did too. I actually kind of liked it.
I got mad that it just looked the same 3 times.
Yeah, one of the most sad evolution lines ever because it really is no different.
It just gets a lot bigger because it threw me off how tiny the first one
is. Well,
I remember seeing it for the first time in the field. It was very tiny.
That's actually something that happens a lot in this game. You're just like, that thing is that small? Like, things seem kind of not quite right proportionally, at least for my headcanon.
Little Capsicid, they were very small.
Yeah.
Little, I guess it's supposed to be small, but...
There were a lot of things that were very small. And I mean, Pokemon in general are actually a lot smaller than, like, they are to, in your head. Like, Charizard is only, like, 4 foot tall.
No, he's not. We don't... No.
Yes, he's a short king.
We don't approve that.
Charizard is a short king.
Charizard is a dragon.
No,
he isn't. He's not a dragon. Not a dragon. I will argue this all day long. The one thing I can make fun of Charizard for is he's not a dragon.
I can't have this conversation.
He's a lizard with wings who stole my frog onion boy's glory, and I will never forgive it. Anyway, so when you guys were approaching this, where did you guys go first in terms of gyms, Titans, star bases? What was your initial approach? Where'd you go first?
I went out the east gate and just did that. So my first Titan was Cloth, and I don't even remember who the first gym leader was. I think it was Brassius.
So you went and did Titans first?
Yeah.
I did the bug gym first.
I did the same. I went that way as well. I did that first, and then I did the weird stork bird.
Oh
yeah, I did that one first.
Bomba something. That it was really easy. It was. Yeah. I would argue it's the easiest one.
So starting with, we'll start with the gyms, then we'll go kind of to each path. What were you guys' thoughts on? I mean, it's an open world game, but there's still some pretty you kind of do some things first, because if you're
Yeah.
going right for like the ice and ghost gyms, you're not going to get there.
Yeah. I think they missed out by not scaling any of the, like, I feel like they could have gone without scaling the wandering Pokemon, but by not scaling the gyms and the Starfall bases and the Titans, it's kind of like, what's the purpose of letting us do it all in this whatever order we want? But,
right. I mean, I feel like in that way it was a lot kind of like Arceus, in that there were free and open areas,
mhm.
but you really couldn't pass that area until you had leveled up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So like you basically did the bug gym and the grass gym first. So you basically either encountered Katie or Brassius pretty much right away. So what did you guys think of? Let's start with Katie. What did you guys think of that?
I didn't have a huge impression of her. I think I did her very late in my run, weirdly.
Oh, yeah.
So I was kind of like, okay, that was very easy, and I don't understand why she's bugs and cake.
I know, it was, yeah, she was kind of weird. I didn't really like her that much. Like, her personality was kind of just bland, and yeah, she was a baker for some reason, and she was a bug gym leader.
I liked the town though.
Yeah, the town was cool.
I love the theory that the Paldea region does not pay their gym leaders very well, because they all have to have these like side hustles.
Yeah. Well, especially the normal gym guy. Like, he's just works.
We'll get to Larry. We'll have a nice chat about Larry. Like in other regions, Pokemon gym leaders get to just be gym leaders for the most part. Here, they all had side hustles, every single one of them.
I feel like the gym system in most of the other regions is kind of like the basis of their whole like government in a way. Like it's so important, but in this one it's very much kind of separate.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I like, but I think that's probably why they all have jobs, is they're not, it's more of a volunteer position,
not as valued,
extracurricular activity situation, not like this is the government.
So yeah, Katie, that like you hit the nail on the head. Why I thought it was really weird, mixing bugs and cake.
The only thing I could think is like the frosting of cakes and the decorating with spider webs, though, is not. Yeah. That's not fun.
We don't want bugs and cake. I think those two things are kind of weird to mix together.
Yeah.
This was the first gym I did though. This is the first gym I did though, and I had already gotten the Mankey by then, because I knew we were going to get Annihilate, and I was really excited for that Pokemon.
Me too.
And did not disappoint, incidentally. Really great Pokemon.
I love that Pokemon.
So I didn't read up on the Pokedex and stuff like that, but I don't look into like the gym leaders and things like that. So I was caught off guard because this was my first gym at Teddy Ursa turning into a bug. Because I fell right into the trap. I was hitting it with a fighting move when it terastallized into a bug.
Yeah.
And so I thought that part of it, that all the gym leaders kind of transformed their Pokemon into a Terra type of their own when it's not that Terra type, was really fun.
My favorite part about that was when Brassius called his Sudowoodo truly Widow.
Yes.
Yep.
From the moment the trailer came out with that line in it, I was just like, okay, that's quality pun.
Right. I just have to be a D&D nerd for a minute, because I just realized with that she made her Ursa ring into a bugbear.
She did. Yep, it was a bugbear. Yeah.
I was thinking of the honey connection the whole time, but I like that one.
Yeah. I think that's the honey connections where that came from, where they actually made the basis for this. But yeah, bugbear that's pretty funny. As far as Brassius goes, the Sudowoodo, it's just a little bit of it's a little head nod to those of us who did play Gold and Silver, and that initial like, why is spraying water pissing off this tree?
Shake.
Yeah, it's always kind of been the joke that he's not a tree, and so to have him
Sudowoodo,
was a little bit of justice, I think, for Sudowoodo. I like that little nod quite a bit.
That's one thing I really liked about kind of the way they did that with like most of the gym leaders. They basically took a Pokemon that it always like made sense that it would be this type, but it wasn't. And so they kind of did it that way. That's at least what I kind of noticed. It seemed like not all of them, but a lot of them. It was just kind of like, yeah, no, that one made sense to be this typing.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not.
I do wish that the trials had been a little bit more, difficult, but
Yeah, I think the only one that stuck in my mind again was Brassius's, because
yeah.
I didn't know what I was looking for a Sunflora, so I just kept going up to the statues. I didn't realize
did
it was
that
actually going to
too.
be like the little models until I finally saw one. Like, it would have been helpful to like see one run past, maybe.
That was like the few times in the game where I actually had some like glitches and slowdown and stuff.
I had the whole time. I had everyone was just kind of like stuttering by, and
Maybe I just
crashed
got lucky,
a lot,
but
and I got some weird glitches.
yeah, maybe I got lucky, but I didn't have barely any of that.
Nice.
Like I definitely had like, especially in the distance, people like kind of chunking through and
right next to
everything.
me.
And then like one of the glitches I got a lot is like every now and then like my camera would like go into the like ground,
Yeah,
and
that
I'd, like look into the sky,
yeah.
and it'd be all
Yeah.
weird for a second. And I had a couple crashes, but never really anything that like was problematic. Like usually if it crashed, like it had given me a save like right before that.
Right.
I had one crash during like the main game, but then once I had kind of wrapped it up and I was doing some breeding, I just kept crashing over and over. So it would be like I was trying to not save so that I could just reset if I didn't get what I was looking for, but that meant that if it crashed, then that was, 15 to 30 minutes wasted.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll get a little more into glitches towards the end. So generally after those two gyms, you ideally go to the electric gym and the water gym.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, yeah.
Sounds like I sort of just naturally took this path. I didn't really look anything up even, but these are just kind of the places I ended up, and it was kind of the right place to be.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you go next? We'll start with Sarah.
I kind of avoided the gyms in general until I had to for like leveling purposes, because the whole gym system is kind of played out at this point, and I was excited to do other things.
Sure.
So I just kind of followed the Titans around.
Well, that's actually kind of the ideal way to do it, I think, because you get the freedom of movement abilities from the Titans.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, once you can swim and climb mountains, then Paldea is your playground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went Titans, and then I found the star bases kind of challenging.
They were, yeah.
Not the free battling part,
no.
like the
bosses.
Yeah, the cars were so hard.
Yeah, we'll get to Red Room here in a minute. So any quick impressions on ideally the next two gym leaders, Iono and Kofu?
I like Iono.
Mm-hmm.
I like her a lot.
I do too.
I think she very much appealed to the sort of anime weeby crowd that would generally be into Pokemon.
I really liked her outfit and like the little Magnemite like berets. I wish that had been a Pokemon, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they'd like come off her hair or something.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been really cool. I did like Miss Magius being her ace.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be Bellybolt because they did that whole like video introducing Bellybolt, saying this is my partner, blah blah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know they all have like multiple Pokemon, but I was expecting that to anyway.
Yeah, it was kind of cool though having that be her ace, because most of them, like you'd said earlier, are Pokemon you have expected to be that type but weren't. This Mage just kind of comes just out of left field completely.
Yeah.
So I liked her. Any thoughts on Kofu?
I can't picture Kofu.
He was like the sort of jolly fat man guy,
the big chef guy.
Big chef guy.
I enjoyed that. I think he was a fun character. I liked the fetch quest for him.
Yeah,
I actually thought that
unique,
was kind of an interesting way to do it, because it made you go to two different little like town kind of things.
I had found the town first with the auction house, and I run around it being like, but there's nothing to do here. What's the point?
Yeah, I thought he was pretty cool. And I thought his design was a little weird with like the one blue eyebrow thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, pretty cool. I think Crabominable is a very logical Pokemon to become a water type.
I actually thought he was one of the harder ones too.
He was, yeah.
I actually had a harder time with him than a lot of the other ones.
I mean, I didn't, just because again I had chosen Meowscarada, so she was able to just kind of take things out pretty quickly.
I had gone the opposite direction, so he was kind of at the end of my run.
Okay, so let's go to the next two. I think these are so. I think we can pretty much all agree the best gym leader was Larry. All right, it was. He was the best.
I mean, yeah.
He's certainly in the top two for me. I think just as an older person playing a Pokemon game, you can relate to his like just being done with this crap attitude.
Yeah, he just like needed to do his like jobs, and it's really funny that like I guess I'm sure we're talking about spoilers in this.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah, it's been months. We're fine.
Yeah, but the fact that he ends up being one of the Elite Four too, on top of it, but he has to use like a different typing. I just thought it was really kind of funny and interesting that they did that.
I fell for him being one of the members of the Elite Four, and I put Annihilate first because I was like, oh, normal types, yeah. No, bad choice. Don't do it.
Yeah. I thought his gym thing was really funny. I thought it was kind of cool that you sort of meet him while you're doing the trial, and then he stands up and is like, oh, okay, I guess I got to do this,
Yeah.
Well, and he looks the most like of all the gym leaders. He looks the most generic. Like,
well, there's NPCs that look almost identical to him in other games. That like office worker archetype.
Yeah, he's just like a disheveled dude. Like that's.
I thought that was one of the things that made him so great is he really did look like an NPC.
Yeah, the only problem with that area is just like the mass murder that you do with like crushing everybody in the restaurant.
Yeah,
that's at least what it looks like. I'm sure that's not what it is, but
I thought about that too. Like, what happens to people that were diving there like 3 seconds before?
Do they like evacuate? Do they? Is it an elevator? Are they just? Is it an illusion? Like they don't
are they
move?
not actually
you can't
people?
Talk to them.
Yeah, it's true. You can't. Like, the
I
only thing I can think is they have like an underground like restaurant kind of thing there when that happens.
Maybe that's like part of the appeal of eating there is that at any time you could be kind of transported to this new area.
A two-way mirror above, so you can like watch the fight above.
Yeah. But I just think he was one of the most fun gym leaders, especially for adults, because we can all relate to that. Like, I guess I got to go to work now, kind of thing.
Let's not talk about that.
Literally starting this video, that's what we were talking about. The next one was Rhyme, the ghost type, ideally. This is one of those gym leaders that I felt like really, her personality was really flat because we don't have voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree because she's a rapper.
Yeah.
So like,
I didn't even feel like there was that amazing of music playing during the.
No, there actually wasn't. And that was actually unintended. They actually patched it later to change the music.
Really?
Yeah, because it wasn't the right music playing in that area when it first came out.
Okay, good to know.
But yeah, it was one of those things where like I just didn't feel anything towards it because it's a musically or lyrically based character that I can't hear.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I liked her design and the way she looked.
I didn't realize until I had to go through at the end of the game to fight her again that her hair is a skeleton arm. I missed that the first time through. I don't know how.
Yeah, she has, and it's like there's like a rib cage thing. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I like her design. I just I just want voice acting in my Pokemon games. Like
I do too. Yeah,
like that's like the one big quality of life improvement. I mean, I don't even really care about the glitches and stuff like that. Like it sucked a little bit, but it didn't take away from my enjoyment of the game. But voice acting would just make everything so much more vibrant in these games.
Yeah, there's just not really an excuse for not having it anymore. Like
there are way cheaper, like more cheaply made games that have voice acting.
There are people who mod games who do voice acting for things they're not even getting paid for, and really good voice acting sometimes too.
Just give us voice acting. Like it's the one quality of improvement thing that I think would really make a lot of difference.
Yeah.
And this is particularly the area where that shows the most.
For sure. I will say though, like, especially being like big into ghost types and that kind of stuff, I always do like it when they do a gym leader that does double battles.
Yeah, double battles are always fun. Yeah.
And the fact that it was ghost double battles, I thought it was really cool. And it was fun with my team because they were all ghosts. So like it kind of made it become like who's faster.
Which starts out with Mimikyu, which is always great because you have to break the shield first, and then
still one of my favorite Pokemon. I love Mimikyu. I have a level 100 Mimikyu in my game.
Yeah. I also like that her ace was Toxicity.
Yeah.
It's another sound-based Pokemon. I've always felt like if they were ever to add another typing, it would be sound.
Yeah. Sound.
Many of them.
Yeah, there's lots of sound type Pokemon, and there's never been like a clearly defined like typing for them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of sound-based moves, and like there's abilities to deal with sound-based moves and that kind of thing. So yeah, it just would make sense.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really cool like ace for her to pick.
Yeah,
it was really fitting for her character.
Very much.
Right. So next we had Tulip, sort of the obligatory hot girl gym leader. Who coincidentally is also like a makeup artist, entrepreneur sort of thing, because she has to make money because they don't pay her in Paldea, apparently.
Yeah.
She was mean though. I didn't like her. I didn't like interacting with her. I deal with enough of those people in real life. I don't.
So for me, all I could think of with her, and I'm blanking. Oh, there's the name. If either of you have ever seen The Good Place, all I could think was Tahani.
Tahani, yeah.
Yeah.
Like she's Tahani as a Pokemon gym leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it says about me, but I liked her. Maybe that's just something about me and my preferences in women, but I like when they're mean to me, I guess.
They have a word for that.
I do like how like the little butterfly thing on her would just kind of move a little bit.
But it's also on her shoes, which is
a special touch. I like.
Yeah.
Florges was a great typing choice for her as far as because I was always confused as to why there wasn't a secondary typing to Florges to begin with. It being just fairy is interesting. Like it should either be grass or psychic or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that one was really fitting.
Honestly, I've never used Florges, so it didn't occur to me that it wasn't also grass type.
It should be a grass type. It's a flower. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's just fairy.
One thing with her is she had one of the new Pokemon that I kind of realized pretty quickly was really good, and I actually do have. Actually, I gave it to you for Terra Raid battles, but the Espathra.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's actually really like solid, and I actually like the design of it.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the psychic, like ostrich. Yeah, and it's really strong. It's really a good Pokemon.
Yeah.
You know what I just realized though that Espathra reminds me of
What?
is the desert paintbrush from Neopets. Some of the Pokemon that you could get, like the very ancient Egypt looking Neopets.
Oh yeah, yep.
And actually, has Gardevoir. Anybody that has Gardevoir at least has some good taste. So you can't go wrong there.
I will say though, like in this game's, like especially like Psychic's not a great type.
A lot of ghosts.
There's a lot of ghosts. There's a lot of like dark. There's like.
I mean, there are also a lot of fighting, so that's an advantage for them. But
yeah.
I mean, I think in general, every typing is a little bit on even footing in this game, just because there's such a variety in things you can catch. Like,
yeah,
it's even if you were to follow this exact route, the amount of variety you can still have on your team by the time you get to any of these gyms is so huge. So the last Pokemon that's sort of recommended, the last gym that's recommended is Grusha, the ice gym. I'm guessing that isn't when you did that, Sarah.
I actually think because he was kind of, in the middle, I did get to him about the same time that you would have been recommended to get to him.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, again, I'm not a fan of mean people.
Yeah, so I did it a little different. So kind of early on when I was playing, I had kind of heard, like I was watching videos and stuff from people, and for the most part, this was accurate. I heard that the farther up you go, the harder everything kind of gets. So that's the way you're supposed to go.
Yeah, you kind of
except for the gym leaders, because I did the one we just talked about, the psychic one, as
I did her last.
I did her as like, I think my like fifth or sixth one.
She was a little out of order.
Yeah, and then from looking at it on the map and doing it from that way, then I did the ice one, and then I did the ghost one last. Because it was the highest one on the map.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the order that's suggested, I definitely did ice and ghost last. Like I did the psychics as number 6. Because she is a little bit out of the way of because I think if you look at it, there is a little bit of a method to it. You kind of so if you're looking at the map, you go left and then you go right and you just kind of swing up like that. But then she's down here, like towards the bottom left of the map.
Yeah.
Well, there's that cave you have to go through.
Yeah, and that's kind of the only way that you kind of figure out her challenge, like how higher level she is, because once you start going in that area, you're like, wait, everything's like way
a little bit stronger down here. Yeah.
Way stronger over here than just like right here.
Right. So talking about Grusha, I really it's definitely a nice nod to non-binary people, because until it's a dude, you think it's a girl, very much so.
Yes. Yeah, very, very androgynous.
And that's great that all that needs to be represented. But
there's a professor that was hot.
I mean, the nurse.
No, she had the suspenders, the green hair.
Do you mean the one that became the Elite Four member?
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. She definitely was. She definitely had that.
What teacher was she? Was she the?
I never took any of the classes, so.
I actually took a lot of the classes, but she was the history teacher.
She was, yeah.
Yeah.
She was, I think, the opposite side of this coin, where it's a very feminine, male, and a very masculine female.
I also thought it was funny that the home ec teacher is the huge, muscly guy, and he was home ec, and I was I appreciate that, actually.
No, I think Pokemon Company played a lot with some gender norms with a lot of this game, actually. I think there were a couple of characters that were really non-binary That was pretty cool. So what did you guys think of Grisha's team? Altaria was an interesting choice to become Ice type.
Mm-hmm. I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a cloud.
Yeah.
It's blue.
Yeah. I've always really loved Frostmoth. I'm glad that's like one of my favorite Ice type Pokemon.
I like not Frostmoth, but Snom.
Yeah, Snom
is very cute.
I think Titan seems like a pretty cool Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't used it, but with it being solid, just Ice type, it actually seems like a pretty good Pokemon because it's hard because Ice type defensively is a really, really weak type.
It's really hard to like Ice types just because
I've never had an Ice type on my team.
I know. I just can't do it. Like they're strong offensively, but they're just everything knocks them out. So they have to have really good stats.
Well, it's like always paired with something else that like gives it even more weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's one of those types that not only has a lot of weaknesses, but it seems like there's really nothing good you can pair it with that does better. Like I just Ice types are very bad, and it sucks because there are a lot of Ice type designs I really enjoy.
Yeah, agreed.
But if you're playing through the game, or really mostly doing competitive, they're just bad.
Yeah, they're basically good if you're dealing with dragons, but that's pretty much
yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about the end game stuff at the end. Let's go ahead and move on to Titans. What did you guys think of the 4 Titans?
I liked.
Wasn't it 5 Titans?
5 Titans. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that all there was? Jeez.
Yeah.
The Titan line, the whole quest line was my favorite. Yeah. I enjoyed the idea of the Titans. I liked that you could go back and catch them later, and it would be like they'd have their little mark about the former Titan. Yeah, I enjoyed the stages and having to chase them around.
I think the Titan story was really fun, and then of course the story that goes along with it with Arvin and his Mobostiff and Pokemon trying to make people cry.
That was the best story that I think I've ever seen in a Pokemon game.
Well, Arvin also like in the end game too. All the stuff with the professor and everything like that. Like he was just the most like relatable character, the most emotional character.
Here's another one. He's so mean at the beginning. I was like, I'm not gonna like him, and then you find out what he's doing, and your heart melts.
Well, and they did a good job with that too. Yeah, for sure. Like I was like, really. Well, it was also hard for me because I just had to put down like my dog. Before that, and so I was like, really. But
extra punching you in the gut.
Yeah, like that fucking sucked. But that story was really good, and they did a good job with it too. Because the first one, it just like you're like, is he a bad guy? Like what's going on? Like what? And then you find out like he's trying to like heal his best friend and like all this stuff. Also, that Pokemon is seeming like it's a really good one.
Which one's that?
Mobostiff.
Yeah,
Mobostiff.
Yeah. Because it's a solid dark type.
It's pure dark, yeah.
And then it seems like it has like a good moveset and good stats. So
I think it just sort of gets lost a little bit because it's a dog Pokemon in a generation full of dog Pokemon.
That is true. There was a lot of dogs.
There's a lot
of dogs.
Also, there's a lot of the dog type Pokemon already are dark type Pokemon.
Yeah,
dogs pretty common among dog type Pokemon.
Dogs and cats. There's a lot of dark cats too.
That's true.
I guess this is actually where we should talk about what version of the game did you guys get?
Scarlet.
Okay, because good. Because
I got Violet.
I
Violet. I got Violet.
Yeah. So you definitely got the better Dawn fan, Crystal. Or sorry, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
You got the better Dawn fan, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, that future Trunky boy is real weird.
Iron Tread sucks.
Yeah.
Also, all of the Violet Paradox Pokemon having to have iron in their name was kind of lame.
Yeah. I mean, Iron Valiant will always be amazing. It's the best Pokemon in this generation. Sorry.
Well, it was also funny too because they're all iron, but there was only one that's actually steel type.
Yeah.
None of the rest are steel type.
Well, I think just when the creators were going, what would Pokemon be like in the future? They were just like robots. Done.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have any really further thought about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of them are really cool, but like that one.
This one in particular, like I actually like a lot of the future variants quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I really, I think the past version of Donphan Great Tusk is way better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was your guys' favorite Titan, would you say?
I really liked Tatsugiri.
Yeah.
As a Titan.
I think that was the coolest Titan.
I liked the whole, it's not like it's going to tell you that it's the Titan, but it's literally the one sitting there like,
Titan.
Uh-huh. Well, and then when you encounter it and you're like, okay, it's still little, and then this giant fish comes out and eats it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really fun relationship there between Tatsugiri and Dondozo.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and one thing that's interesting, and we'll probably talk about this more when we do the competitive one with like Travis, but that combo is actually being used a lot competitively.
Yep.
Because they're supposed to work together, and it's one of the times that they did something weird like that it actually works.
Mm-hmm.
But people have figured out like a way to make it like even better and like because it's for like double battles.
Mm-hmm.
But the one kind of problem with it is it makes you like a 1 versus 2.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes the stats better, but people figured out that if you put I think it's like an orb item or something, it's the poison orb that gives you poison. You put that on the Tatsugiri, so it knocks itself out inside. It's the only way to do that, and then your Dodonzo still has the stats, and then you can have another Pokemon come out.
And people are pairing that most often with Flamigo, because when Flamigo comes out, he copies the stats of the other person he comes in with.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the Dondozo, you take the Tatsugiri, you give it the Toxic Orb, it goes into Dondozo, dies off. You still have Dondozo with all these crazy stats. Now you send out Flamigo, who then copies those stats. So it's a pretty cool little combination thing for otherwise a terribly dumb Pokemon. Flamigo, just my God, they really just called in that day.
They tied a flamingo's neck, and that's all they did.
I liked Orthworm. I think the most like sort of unremarkable of the Titans would be Bombardier.
Yeah.
It's
I did like going to catch that one though, because like you're like running up and like the boulders are like falling down.
Oh yeah, that part was pretty fun. Yeah. I just think of the Pokemon that were Titans, Bombardier was like the most like
Yeah,
that and like Cloth, like
Cloth a little bit. Yeah,
Cloth's so stupid though. I love it.
Yeah. I kind of like Cloth, but
I have to say I do want a shiny Cloth. Have you seen shiny Cloth?
Is it blue?
It's bright blue.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Like,
I do like that.
Really cool.
But now it looks like it should be an ice type, though.
It's kind of light blue. It just makes it look more like it's like a water crab.
Yeah. It does make its cheeks, like its little red rosy cheeks, stick out a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Yeah, anything else to say about the Titan Pokemon? I mean, like you said, they're kind of the ones you want to do the quickest just because you gain all the traversal abilities by defeating them.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you can traverse the world, it does become much more quote-unquote open world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did spend many a day not fully sober, just running around, getting lost in the world, jumping around on Karida.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a great thing to be able to say about a Pokemon game, though, is that you can just kind of wander around and get lost. In that aspect, the open world was a big success. Yeah. I do think there's a lot of Pokemon you could find, though, like if you're just wandering around and you're just like, oh, holy crap, that Pokemon's here?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think there was that exploration.
I would have liked to have had, like, there were some cool locations that I found fully by accident that just weren't utilized in the game. Like, just there was a little area down by the sea where there's like some art, like natural arches and like a little beach area, and that there could have been something really cool happening there, but it was just empty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that happens a lot with most open world games too, though.
I feel like a lot of open world games at least try to put something findable, collectible in those weird locations that you find that look kind of cool, but they're just
true.
Like, even if it's like a Korok or something under a cool little rock circle, like that's still something to find.
Yeah, I guess I'm just a little, you know, everybody kind of assumes Breath of the Wild is like this end all be all of open world games.
It was just the first thing I could think of.
And I found that game to be like really boring in comparison to say this one.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the enemy variety was so low.
That's true.
Like you found those pig people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It felt a lot more.
To draw on my most recent weekend endeavors, Fallout 4, like you find a weird little house. There's some environmental storytelling happening. A skeleton with his head in a toilet, you know.
Yeah, I mean, but that's just kind of the end all be all of like open world games, though. I think they're the ones who perfected that.
Okay, well, you can't give me like, well, this one doesn't count because it's boring, and this one's the end all be all. I'm pulling on two different open world games that give you stuff in
fair enough, but Bethesda is kind of the quintessential open world, though.
Yeah, but
so they've had longer to figure out how to make everything interesting.
But I mentioned Breath of the Wild too. Anyway, it's
yeah. Well, I just hate Breath of the Wild. We'll talk about that all the time.
He very much
hate that game so bad. It was so boring to me. Anyway, so anything else to say about the Titans before we move on?
I thought it was interesting. Was it in Violet? Was it Iron Treads that was in the desert?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. I thought
it was actually interesting that was like the one paradox Pokemon that you did. And it was also interesting that they didn't make that one like the hardest Titan. You kind of thought it's like the second hardest Titan, but it's
no, it definitely wasn't. I mean, Dendozo was obviously meant to be done last. Yeah, it's kind of interesting that they had chosen to put any paradox Pokemon outside of Area 0. That was kind of an interesting choice, I guess, just to give you a little bit of a teaser for what was coming up.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of Great Shinies, Great Tusk's Shiny is fantastic.
Oh, I haven't seen the Shiny.
Oh yeah, you'll have to look it up. It's actually probably one of my favorite Shinies from this generation because it's actually really different, which most of them aren't. It's like the spikes are like a sort of a bright green. It looks a little bit more of like a brownish color rather than the higher black.
Okay.
I think it looks a little bit more prehistoric in its coloring.
A little more earthy.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of that one. Okay, so let's move on to the other kind of main story point in the star bases. What were you guys' initial thoughts? What star base did you fight first?
What is that one? Oh, the fire one.
Oh yeah, so you went hard right away then.
Yeah, I didn't have an easy time with that one.
No. Did you beat it the first time you went?
No.
Okay, I was about to say, dang.
That's the point. I got to it, and I got to the boss, and then I was like, I have to turn around and like do some gyms and do some more Titans before I can come back to this because this is too hard.
Agreed.
So I did kind of how I started mine. Like I went on the side with the bug gym, and then I just kind of went around the area. So I did that Titan, and then I did the dark one. So like I did a gym, I did a Titan, and then I did a star base.
That's kind of the way I tried to do it too.
How I was doing it. And that's kind of how I was trying to do it throughout the game for the most part. Like I'd hit obviously a couple more like gyms because there were 8 gyms and there were 5 of each of the other things.
So dark is ideally where you're supposed to start.
Yeah, it's the easiest one.
I don't think I did that until last.
Rever Room, though, I will say, was pretty hard almost every time. I kept having this like, wait, what typing is this stupid engine thing? Like what?
Yeah, that thing's
defenses.
Yeah, that thing was kind of rough. Especially in a couple of them. I think the ones that I had the hardest time with, the poison one was like shockingly hard. And the fighting one. The fighting one
is also really hard.
Like I think she's supposed to actually be the hardest one.
Yeah,
so it actually lists the fighting type one as the last one.
Okay.
I at that point in my Starfall tour, I had realized that I wasn't going to beat the bosses unless I overleveled quite a bit. So I did, going into all the other ones, that I was able to beat them first time, not fire or poison, because I got wrecked by both of those. But the rest of them, I was like, I'm just going to over level for all of these by a lot.
I actually think that the fighting type one was one of the most challenging fights I've had in a Pokemon game in a pretty long time.
Really? That was the fire one for me, because I just kept getting constantly, as soon as a new Pokemon came out, it was just mowed down.
That storyline was kind of interesting though, because they're the bad guys, but they were like people that were being picked on, and so then they like made a group to make it so that people wouldn't get picked on anymore, and then they became the ones like picking on people.
Well, it was funny because halfway through you're kind of like, do I want to stop these guys?
Well, yeah, and it was funny too, because it was like one of those things, you interact with somebody that looks way different from everybody else, just like randomly, and you're like, of course this is going to be the person that just contacted me right after I met them. The person with the big Eevee backpack.
Unique character, that can't be anyone important.
But they did a decent job with like trying to like lead you off away from that. Like especially at the end when you go and you have to fight the dean, and he's like, it was me all along, and then like, you fight him, and then he's like, it wasn't me,
I at the very beginning, I remember messaging Kit, because Kit and I were talking about the game, and I was like, I don't trust this Clavel guy. He's saying some shady, like the very beginning, even before everything started, he was just acting. There were some lines that he said that seemed like foreshadowing for evil, and I was just like, I don't trust him. And then, of course, as soon as you get to Starfall, you're like,
they set that up on purpose. I thought it was really funny. There was a meme I saw that was like, that showed the director and then showed Clive, and it was like, Pokemon's so lazy reusing the same design for different characters.
So this is, you're gonna laugh at me for this.
No,
but like
Edison, no.
When he first came over, like it had been a minute since like I was actually at the
the school and everything.
At the school,
and
I hadn't seen him in a while. So I just thought this was a new other character.
He fooled you. He got you.
He
Bro.
did.
He got you.
He actually did. Like at the first part, and then like it did a closer up, and I could see like the under like of the like wig, and I was like, oh my fucking god! Like, because I'm like,
Hello,
who's
fellow
this
students,
random like stupid design of a character?
Yeah. It definitely didn't trick me at the end when he was like, I was the boss all along. It was very clear that he was.
It didn't trick me either, but it was just kind of like funny that they were like trying to do that.
Like, mostly because by then you're just like, I don't trust anything you say, bro. Like,
you're just a bumbling idiot.
Yeah. One thing I did like though, when you fight the actual, what was the character's name?
Penny.
Yeah, Penny. But like, what's like?
Mesopia or
something like that. Yeah, like
I can't remember what the name was, but yeah, it's like a. Oh, I wish I could remember. Hold on. Let me see if I can look it up real quick.
Yeah, doesn't really matter. But I like that she had a full Eevee team. I actually thought that was really awesome.
Cassiopeia.
Oh, Cassiopeia.
Yeah.
Cassiopeia.
I liked at the end of the game when you got a chance to go to everyone's dorm rooms. Hers was just like a disaster full of EVs. Like that would 100% be my.
Yeah, she was a pretty cool character. Although, yeah, from the very beginning, I'm like, she's more involved than she's letting on.
Yeah.
They try to throw you off initially with having like the star grunts like picking on her.
Yeah.
But immediately beyond that, I knew she was involved. I think probably by like the fourth one, I was like, it's gonna be her.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Especially since you always see like Cassiopeia contacts you after Penny has left or before she's gotten there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little bit of that Superman and
never in
Clark
the
syndrome.
same room at the same time.
But overall, I really like the Team Star basis. I like the story that happened. It was a cool little twist on the typical evil team idea.
And how they did like the flashback kind of things.
I liked those, yeah. I did miss having like an actual evil presence.
Yeah. I think that's actually something the last few generations have missed because really the last few generations of Pokemon, like they've been like sort of maybe street gang level type things. And most of them are endearing in a lot of ways. Like I love Team Skull. I have a Team Skull tattoo because I thought they were so funny that they weren't like menacing in any way.
Yeah, because starting with that one, like they were like the bad guy team, but they weren't the end bad guy team.
Right.
Like the I don't even remember what it was called in that game. But the people going after the whatever beasts. And then
the Aether Foundation.
Yep. And then the last game, it was Team Yell, which was just
they were just like fanboys.
Yeah, it was just a group of fans. Like they kind of I feel like they're starting to kind of go away from like the like bad guy teams as
things.
Yeah.
We need a villain.
Well, yeah, we kind of need a villain because like there were no bad guys in this game, really. I mean, I guess it's kind of a general society trend now that we want to explain why bad people are bad.
Yeah.
We can't just have bad guys anymore. Like the Joker has to have a movie to explain why he's the Joker, and we can't just have the Joker.
Cruella de Vil has to get a redemption movie. Yeah.
Cruella de Vil has to have a movie.
I refuse to watch that movie.
I haven't seen it.
Because, like, don't give her a redemption story.
Of all of the villains.
Yeah. For storyline purposes, can we just have bad people be bad people once in a while? I mean, I know
sometimes there are bad people.
Yeah. Like, I understand that nobody starts out that way, and there's always, like, a story of why someone becomes evil, but, like, maybe I just want to beat someone up without feeling bad.
And it also doesn't have to be a twist bad guy. Like, you can just have a bad guy. Like, it's fine.
Maybe I just didn't want to break down the coping mechanism that the poor people who got picked on had. Other than that, though, I liked the Starfall storyline and definitely the hardest battles in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I like the variety of Pokemon types that they chose, too. Most of my favorite types actually fell into the star-based category. Fairy and fighting in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really liked the fairy star base, the area it was in.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous.
I like the way that the Rev Room in the vehicle looked, too. It was like all neon looking, and that was pretty cool.
I also like that they explained that, too, because like one of the character, like one of the
Bosses.
my brain is just stopping.
No,
yeah,
bosses,
one of the bosses like made those.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of cool.
I do wonder how ethical it is.
For sure.
And they don't ever seem to really address it, where they normally do address weird Pokemon experiments.
It's true. So maybe they did deserve it. Those kids deserve to get beat up just for that.
Also, there was something about Char Cadets, and I don't really understand where that went.
Yeah. Did any of the bosses in particular, their personality stand out to you guys?
I liked Atticus a lot, the poison one.
Mm-hmm.
He was just like this weird Victorian ninja guy.
Another one that was slightly not particularly gender binary either. Like you can be a little bit like, is that a girl? Is it a boy? A little androgynous there too.
Yeah. I liked. I know I didn't like the fairy one at all.
Kind of the most generic, I think.
Is that the little kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was kind of like prissy and kind of like a dick.
Yeah, he was a little too generic. Like his look, everybody else had such crazy looks, and he just was kind of generic. And
and
he was like, I think he was kind of the stereotypical, that archetype of the rich young
kid,
lord that they have a lot of in like manga anime. The very proper, like too big for his britches little kid.
Yeah, I actually liked the dark one a lot, and that they that he was like the one that like created the like songs for him, because that was actually some of the best music in the game, I thought.
For sure, yeah. Gayakamo. He's one of the weirdest names to look at and like know how to pronounce.
Yeah. And then the fighting one, like I liked her personality a lot, but her makeup was too much. Like
she was a wrestler.
Yeah, I like the pro wrestling theme because, of course, I like pro wrestling as well.
For sure, so. But yeah, I didn't love her character design, but I liked her a lot.
Yeah.
I liked that she was like the protector of the group, and she seemed actually pretty kind. And
if you know anything about like what they call Joshi wrestling, which is essentially Japanese women's wrestling, her outfit looks a lot like what a lot of them would wear. Like they tend to have like this sort of skin on their sides exposed, and then like it really frilly and that kind of stuff. Like it actually did fit that Joshi look really well.
Interesting.
So I thought that was pretty good. But yeah, I agree with you. The makeup was a little bit like
little much. Yeah.
Did we need that part?
War paint.
Yeah, war paint. So did you guys? Well, once you finished them, did you guys go right for the ending battles, or did you kind of finish up everything?
So I ended up finishing up everything because I beat the Titan one, and then it immediately like gave me the thing to go to the lighthouse, and so I did that, and I was not high enough level.
Yep. Same. Me too.
Same. So. That's exactly the same that happened to me too.
He wrecked me. I got knocked out fully. I was like, well, I'm gonna do that later.
Yep. Same thing happened to me. Exactly like that. Arvin just wrecked me.
Yeah, that happened. So I went back. I finished the gyms, the Starfall bases, and then I leveled up some more.
And then I finished off the star bases first. So I fought Penny first. Of the sort of final three, and then Arven, and then went to the Elite Four.
Yeah. And are we good to start talking about the Elite Four now?
Oh yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
So this was definitely the easiest Elite Four, and it was also like the least
memorable.
Yeah, well, not just that, but like you beat it, and then it's just kind of like, okay, like you completed that thing. Like
it didn't feel like an accomplishment as much as other games do. And then have like the music and the Hall of Fame and the
like all the other games, you beat the Elite Four and then credits. Like
because in all the other games, the Elite Four is that final. It's like the gym challenge is the only thing you have, so that is the end all be all. But in this one, you're supposed to have that element of finding your own treasure. So if that's not the one you enjoyed the most,
they just didn't
have
make
to
as
give
big a deal
fanfare to
about
all
it.
the other ones.
Yeah. And with the finding your own treasure thing, one thing I will say, I kind of hate that they put it that way, because you have to do all of them.
Yeah. And then there's no question at the end, like, which one was your treasure? Like,
yeah, no, I agree. I actually think the hardest part about the Elite Four was the freaking quiz they give you beforehand.
I messed up one of the questions.
I messed up too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was who was which gym leader and which type were they? And I was like, I don't know who any of these names are.
I looked them up. I full on like I couldn't remember. I'm like,
when they asked you the name of the city that your favorite gym leader was in, I failed it the first time because I didn't look it up, because I was just like, I don't think they're gonna like kick me out if I don't have the right answer.
Yeah.
And they do kick you out if you don't have the right answer.
That was, and speaking of that, another androgynous character.
That's the one we were talking about earlier. The very first, the sort of male,
a hot one.
So masculine presenting Rika is.
Okay. We're actually thinking a different one.
History teacher was hot too, but
the history teacher's hot. But
I was thinking of Rika.
I was thinking right.
Okay, I was thinking of the history teacher.
So before we go into the battles of the Elite Four, anything else to say about like Penny's team or Arven's team?
I don't remember Arven's team besides Mabostiff, and I think it's a little bit of a shame we didn't see any of the rest of the team in the storyline. Well, I guess we did.
Yeah,
because when we were fighting the Titans, but I guess I wasn't paying attention to who I was fighting with.
They weren't super important. Nothing really impressive there.
I actually thought his team was he has a pretty solid team. Like he was actually kind of hard. I liked that he actually had the like fire plant.
Not Capsicid.
Capsicid.
Scovillain.
Scovillain, yeah.
Because like nobody else had that Pokemon.
That's actually a pretty cool Pokemon.
Yeah. It's apparently not great, but it is kind of
it's the first fire grass.
Yeah, it's the first fire grass. Like that's
it was a type that they had to figure out how to put in, and peppers was kind of the best way to do that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Someone I heard was saying that like Scovillain kind of feels like a middle evolution, and there should be another one. And
absolutely, I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah,
put like an orange head in there. Oh.
Or maybe just make it bigger after that. Like it was, it still just was very much looked like an awkward middle stage too.
Yeah.
So that's I hadn't really thought of that, but that's one of the reasons that you're absolutely right. I think that's why that design is still kind of weird to me.
I wanted to like it a lot more. I really liked Capsicid. Capsicid was very cute. Scovillain,
I like the name. The name is hilarious.
Yeah.
They did a great job with like sort of punny names in this generation. I mean, like Meowscarada.
Yeah.
Lechonk.
Yeah, Lechonk, Scovillain. They had a lot of really punny names, and that was fantastic.
Yeah,
like
Houndstone. Houndstone.
Arbolivia.
They
had a lot of great names. Whoever named Pokemon this generation gets a raise. So we'll go into the Elite Four then. So you start out against Rika. She has ground types. this was definitely, sweeping for me because, I just had Masquerade up front. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a very easy time with all of the Elite Four. I think there was one that I wasn't like prepared for. I didn't have the right counter to it. The little kid with steel.
With the steel type.
Yeah.
Well, steel's like the strongest type, so like that one.
And Tinkaton is her ace, and Tinkaton's a great, really defensive Pokemon.
Dope.
She's pretty great. Looking at Rika's team, I mean, it's all pretty standard ground types. I like Clodsire quite a bit. But yeah, nothing too crazy, nothing too challenging. I don't think for anybody.
Yeah.
Poppy, like this little girl being on the Elite Four to me is just a little bit odd.
Yeah, I didn't like
little kids on the Elite Four before, right? There was one in there was like a younger girl,
but it wasn't this young.
Yeah,
it was like
little
kids all blend together.
This was like maybe roughly the other ones have been at least roughly your age, right? Your character's age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is like a baby, like a little kid.
Yeah.
So I found that very odd.
She was.
Poppy was very, very odd. I didn't care for it. But she has Tinkaton, always really cool. Corviknight's a great steel type. I've always wanted to use a Copperajah, but just never really have for anything.
Yeah.
But it's always a really cool design. I like that. Then, of course, you get Larry again. And I like how he's just as put out to have to be a member of the Elite Four as he was to be a gym leader.
Well, and I like that he chose flying type for the Elite Four because it's basically just normal type, but in the air.
And it has like, it's great because the thing that you would go at normal type with is really bad against.
Gives a little bit of that fooled you a little bit. I mean, Sarah said she literally fell for it. So
yeah, I did too. Like I saw him and I was like, oh, okay, normal type. I think I did the same thing because I also had an Annihilate. So
as a person who is not a fan of flying types, I hate his team. I think he was the dumbest Elite Four member. Flying types to me, like there's very few flying types I enjoy, just because they're birds. That's all they almost always are, is a bird. And his team definitely reflects that. I mean, Tropius is like the most interesting Pokemon he has on his team.
Yeah.
And it's not
Tropius is a weird flying type.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, it's Oricorio, a bird. Altaria, another bird. Staraptor, literally a bird. And Flamigo, which is just a flamingo.
Yeah.
So nothing really interesting there. The last guy, of course, had dragon types. Hassel. I actually had forgotten that I even met this person before now.
Me too.
I didn't because I was actually doing a lot of the classes, and he's the art teacher.
Okay. Yeah, I barely did any of the classes, so
I did like two. The first two that like makes you do, and then I was like,
I made several visits to the nurse's office. That's all I did.
I do have to go back through because apparently there's rewards you get for talking to all the teachers and making friends with the teachers, which is like, don't make friends with your teachers. They're not your friends. They're your teachers.
I did a lot on my second run through when I was doing my fighting type block, just because I realized I kind of missed something. But my first run through, absolutely no classes. I did visit the nurse's office a couple times just because she's maybe a little too flirty with an 11-year-old child.
Yeah.
But she's definitely Bae in this game. She's the Pokemama of this game. So his dragon type team is Noivern, which I know you love a lot, Sarah.
Hell yeah.
And definitely a great dragon type. And coincidentally, a dragon type, well, Charizard, not a dragon type.
Okay, look. I don't want to fight you. You're my friend, but I will.
Haxorus, which is another great dragon type. Dracoledge, which, fine. Flapple, another great dragon type.
Love Flapple.
Love Flapple. And then Baxcalibur, who I love, but it's still an ice type.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing it's actually like I haven't used it, but I'm hearing it's actually really good.
Yeah, I've heard some good things.
Like Travis loves it.
I mean, it has a couple of really, really good moves that sacrifice its ability for defense, which kind of doesn't matter because it's an ice type.
Yeah.
But overall, pretty great Dragon type team, and I would say probably the best team of the Elite Four.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we move on to Gita, the champion. And this team was also massively disappointing, in my opinion. It was just very, very easy. However, if you make a couple of changes to the positions of the Pokemon, it can actually be really brutal. So if you take her ace, Glamora,
which should not be her ace,
and you put it first, now it's dropping toxic spikes at the beginning of the fight. So that makes it a lot better right away. That means if you have any sort of switching or knockout or anything like that, you're dealing with toxic. Then you take King Gambit and you make her make him the last Pokemon, benefiting from every single Pokemon that's been knocked out before him because of his ability. And now you have a much stronger team just by switching those two Pokemon.
Yeah.
I also think she made a couple weird choices like Avalugg, again, ice type, pure ice type.
Yeah.
I really love Go-Go. Should not be on the Champions team. It had that weird fish Veluza that is probably one of the most forgettable designs of this gen. She did have Espathra, so that was cool. But I mean, Espathra, Go-Go, Veluza, Avalugg, King Gambit, and Glamora. It's just not an impressive
they're
team.
kind of normal-ish Pokemon, like
other than King Gambit, like King Gambit's probably should have been her ace. Like you're right.
I think, like I said, taking Glamora and putting it first makes that a much more impressive addition to the team. Just because its ability actually can be really, really good. Toxic Debris can be a really good ability.
And
but
that
if it's your last Pokemon.
Yeah, that Pokemon, I actually really like the design of that Pokemon, but it doesn't seem like it's actually that good of a Pokemon.
Yeah.
When you see it in Area 0, I think it fits in a lot better, and its design makes more sense.
Yes.
Other than that, like a very unimpressive champion. Like, I won't remember her name.
She had cool hair.
She did have cool hair. I think when you come off of a generation where the champion is so idolized, like Leon.
Yeah.
Like Leon's one of those champions that you'll remember as being a champion. Gita will be just really forgotten within 1 or 2 generations.
Yeah. I did like one thing that they did kind of do with that is your rival. What is her name?
Nimona.
Yeah.
Nimona. She. I like the way they kind of did it because she had, become the Pokemon, like she had done this challenge like the last year, and like
she was already champion rank.
Champion rank, and then she got a whole new team
to grow with you.
And like I thought that was a really cool way to do it, and she was always like she had a pretty good team.
A little pushy though with the fights. She's always just like, "We're going to do this," and you're just like, "I don't want to right now."
But then sometimes she'd be like, "Oh, actually, I got to go do something else." I feel like more often than not that was the case, where she was like, "I'm going to fight you now," and you're like, "Okay," and she's like, "Actually, hold that thought."
Yeah, I liked her a lot. Like I thought she was a really fun character.
That real D-bag move she does right at the beginning where she terastallizes when you can't, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
I forgot that you could. Yeah, he was like, you knew. So I guess after Elite Four, let's talk about Nimona and your rivalry with her. Anything really stick out about her team and her battle style?
I strangely, for being a character who's like fully based around battling, like that's her thing, I didn't remember any of the fights.
I remember the Terrasta one right up front, and then I do remember she had a Palmot through the entire time that we fight against quite a bit.
Yeah.
But other than that, her team was also pretty unremarkable.
Yeah, like I am struggling to remember what was kind of on her team. Like obviously she has one of the starters.
Yeah, she has the starter that's strong against whatever you picked.
Yeah, and then
She have the one that's weak against whatever you picked, because I think she had Masquerada.
Yeah, she picks the weak one.
Put it up right now.
They've switched that up. You know, they used to always, it used to be the strongest one that your rival would pick, and then they had two rivals, so you got one of each. But now it's mostly they pick the one that's weak against.
Well, and it was the dean that ends up getting the one that's
and actually uses it.
Yeah,
actually uses them. That's the best part, I think, about the starters in this game, is that the last one still gets used.
Yeah.
Yeah, as much as I loved X and Y, I think the sort of the downfall of your rivals being a challenge was X and Y. I think because that's when you had like all the friends and tons of rivals and all that stuff, and they were your friends first instead of your rivals second, and then every generation subsequently they've kind of been that way. I mean, to be fair, How came before Nimona, so you can't do worse than How, but. So her team, if you fought her when you fight her as a champion, is actually a lot of what I like though. So Lycanroc, the midday form, Hydra, Sparse, Orthworm, Palmot, and the one that's strong against whatever it is that you picked. The one that's weak against whatever it is. Yeah.
You really
so in my case, she would have had Quackable. Yeah, so in this case, it would have been Quackable. But I love Lycanroc, and Gudra is like probably my favorite dragon type. The Dunsparce is a really funny evolution in this generation.
Everyone was so excited when they heard that Dunsparce is getting an evolution, and then they got to Dunsparce.
Yeah.
But that's the point of the Dunsparce, right? It's like if he would have turned into something really cool, I would have been disappointed. I like that he's kind of dumb and doesn't really evolve in any rate. He just gets like another section to his body.
Or two.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of the champion fight? Did you guys have any problems with her?
No.
For Nimona, when you fight her afterwards? No.
I had leveled up a lot by then.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, that's part of it too. I think the fights with Penny and Arvin kind of set you up a little bit too high. Because Arvin was hard.
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
So he kind of set up a little bit much. So let's talk a bit about what did you guys think of Area Zero story?
Well, you're cutting out really bad all of a sudden.
Oh, sorry.
Technical difficulty.
Okay, sorry, my internet kind of went down for a second there.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you guys think of Area Zero and the story going into that?
You go first, Edison.
So I liked it a lot at first, and then it got really repetitive, and a lot of the I feel like it should have had more Pokemon down there.
Yes.
Because
absolutely.
Because of course it has all the Paradox.
Well, when you first go down, it only has one of the Paradox Pokemon.
Yeah, each part of the kind of challenge part of you going through, you fight one of them, but then you can't catch them except for the a couple of them.
Well, I know for our game it was Iron Bundle.
Yeah.
Which Pokemon was that for you? Was it the Jigglypuff?
Yeah, Screamtail.
Yeah, so Screamtail was kind of the most common one for you, right?
Yeah. I got to the end of it. have a lot of opinions on Area Zero. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was really gorgeous. I thought it was empty. I thought I didn't see anything but Screamtail until after the game was over.
Yeah.
And like, so if you're someone who just kind of like puts down a game at the end and doesn't care about the end game, you miss all of the Paradox Pokemon.
Yep.
And also, it didn't feel strongly tied to the rest of the game because there was only that one Paradox Pokemon out, the Titan.
I agree.
And other than Arven's parent being in the crater, it was kind of like, you know, you have Koraidon or Miraidon the whole time.
Which I actually loved.
Yeah, I do too. I have never loved a Pokemon more than I've loved my adorable sandwich destroying Koraidon. They did such a good job of like, other than maybe like the Pikachu and Pokemon Yellow.
Yeah.
Like,
I've never been a fan of legendaries in general, just because I always feel like they're sort of tacked on at the end of the game. And then unless you're using them in you know, online battles or that kind of thing, you don't use them at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think having Koraidon and Miraidon be like your friend the whole game was excellent.
And then it was just toothless.
He was so cute. I loved him so much.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick which one's better because I played through both of them now, and I think as a ride Pokemon, I like Miraidon better. Just makes more sense. But as a battle form, like actually fighting with it and just the general design, I like Koraidon better.
Yeah. I also, I don't know. I know a lot of people had issues with the wheel thing on Koraidon. Yeah. Because it was like, that's stupid. They're fake wheels. He's still running. But it's like, it's his dewlap and it's his tail all wrapped up. And it was...
Yeah. Well, it wasn't supposed to, like, so I think the thing that people don't really get about Koraidon is that it's going to become Cyclizar. So it just hasn't evolved to make those particular things wheels yet.
Yeah. Also, Cyclizar. So cute. Love Cyclizar.
Great. I think great design. Great Pokemon.
Not a good Pokemon, though.
No, not a good. I
didn't use it. I loved it.
Yeah.
Pure Normal is never good, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people judge Koraidon based on what the other two are doing and not what its design is that will essentially become Cyclizar and Miraidon.
So feathery, and when he stands up, he gets all bigger.
His battle form looks way better than Miraidon's does.
It does.
Also, another thing that I heard someone else say is the like cut scenes you get with your legendary or box legendary. Koraidon has a tongue, so when he's like licking Penny's face, it actually makes a little bit more sense. Whereas like Miraidon just like
yeah, it looks like it's biting. Yeah, I think the cutscenes definitely looked a little bit better with Koraidon as well.
Yeah,
such a good Pokemon.
But anyway, so going to Area Zero, I think I feel basically the same way you do. It was very bland for the most part, and up until you beat the game, I encountered two Paradox Mons, Iron Bundle and Iron Jugulus. Were the only two you really see.
Yep.
I remember.
Iron Jugulus is
Hydreigon. I don't remember who the other. There might have been one other Paradox Pokemon that I saw in Scarlet, but the only one I remember is Screamtail.
Yeah. So I still haven't gone into Area Zero a whole lot in my Scarlet game, so I'm not sure either. But yeah, it's basically just either Iron Bundle or Screamtail. I do like the story of like sort of him understanding how his parent was never there for him, and it's just another layer to. It's another layer to Arven.
I thought the Area Zero story was great. I wish it had spread out to the rest of the game more, since it was that final thing that you're doing, but you don't have any connection to it other than Arven. But it was so cool. The whole end fight and the mechanical everything time, so cool.
And really dark. Like it was actually like it's sad.
How like the professor had died years ago, and then the robot was just sending these messages.
It was a great story, and I wish we had had more of it.
Agreed.
I think that's
know
my main thing is I love all the stories. I wish there had been more of them.
I would still say it's probably the best ending of any Pokemon game. As far as like actually making you feel something. And I think anybody who is either not necessarily had a parent present or has lost a parent can relate to that story a little bit. Just because like you can feel that like why wasn't I good enough for you to want to be there for me kind of thing. And so I think you can really feel that. You can really feel that from Marvin, and it does get really dark in that way.
Yeah.
It was very beautiful, though. Like you said earlier, Area Zero looked really pretty.
Gorgeous. The waterfalls, the like mossy stones, the crystal areas, gorgeous. Again, they've got these gorgeous vistas in this game that they could have done more with.
Agreed.
Well, and it's just like a lot of the Pokemon down there, because it was just like for the normal Pokemon, it was just there was just so many of the Venomoths everywhere. The giraffe things everywhere.
Yeah.
It was just like the same Pokemon like over and over and over again. And
I think most of the Pokemon down there that weren't the Paradox Pokemon you could catch pretty widely elsewhere. Glimmet was like the only exception to that.
Yeah.
And really, I don't think anybody really wants a Glimmet. I just think because of how it was like sitting on the cave walls and stuff, it did help its design a little bit.
I agree. Because I think I first saw it when I was chasing Earthworm, or the first evolution.
Yeah.
But it does look really good on the cave wall. The like.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Flower situation.
Yeah, I think that helps with that design quite a bit. So I think before we wrap things up, let's just talk about your favorite new Pokemon, because I think a lot of the Pokemon people were a little nervous about when they first saw them, and then a lot of them really grew on these just through playing the game. So let's go with Sarah first. Top 3 new Pokemon.
Top 3 new Pokemon. I have a list. I actually really liked King Gambit once I finally went about getting him. And I think part of that is just the area that you can find the Poniards and the Bisharps in, and the way that you evolve it is very engaging. To have to find other Bisharps that have packs of Poniards, and like that was cool. I wish there was more of that kind of evolution thing. And then in the Bamboo Forest is where it all happened. So that was cool. Koraidon, amazing. Never felt so attached to a Pokemon. Gorgeous design. I love his little fake wheels. Perfect. But my favorite of the whole, like, it might be my new favorite. And it's funny that we're talking about how ice types kind of suck. I really like Chimpao, the little snow leopard with the sword, like jammed through. I wish there had been a storyline for the Ruinous Pokemon.
I know, there wasn't really much of a story to them. Yeah.
There wasn't anything about them. I loved all of them, but Chimpao was baby.
Chinyu was my favorite of those.
I still haven't gone and got those, actually. Like, I need to do that.
You should. They're a lot of fun. I like all of them.
Is it Tinglu, the deer with the bull?
Yeah.
I didn't like it in pictures, but it's another one of those ones where you see it in motion and it's really cool. I love the way that it actually looks like it's weighed down by that bowl on its head. Like
the bowl is heavy, yeah.
Yeah, all of those look really cool.
Yeah.
So that might be your new favorite Pokemon of all time, huh?
It's really cute. It's really, really cute. And I love this. The swords are so cool. And I love the way that they poke out a little bit at the top because it's the sword that's the snow. I once I was done with the game, I made like my favorite aesthetic team, and Chimpao's on it, and then there's like some other just like cool looking Pokemon I don't remember right now. That's what I spent all the time breeding for. I've never done like IV breeding before, and I finally did it for no reason because I don't do competitive.
Yeah. That's a good top three. I really like that. That's definitely I think a pretty unique top three. So I like that. Although a lot of people do like the Jin Pao.
Yeah.
A lot of people. It's pretty popular.
Deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ed, give me top three.
So I played pretty much ghost types throughout. So I'll kind of do them in order. So the one that surprised me with how much I ended up liking it, Bramblegast.
Mm-hmm.
That thing hits so hard. It's really, I actually think it's really good. Because it gets all the like vine moves and it gets power whip and I like the way that it evolves. Like you walk around with it, it's a tumbleweed and like it evolves that way. And I don't know, I ended up really liking that Pokemon a lot. And then Ceruledge is just, the design is so cool. I know it looks very like human. It's like a Power Ranger.
As much as I dislike humany Pokemon, Ceruledge is pretty cool.
It's really
that
cool.
Blue and purple.
Oh yeah, it looks so cool. And then it has like a really cool moveset. It's really strong and it's like special move. It's a high power fire attack that heals it. Like
nice.
It's really good. I really like that Pokemon. And then it's kind of cheating in a way because it's just a new evolution.
That still counts.
But Annihilate.
Yeah.
Annihilate is so cool. And I've always liked Mankey and Primate. But they just, were never that great. But they finally made him super badass, and the fact that he evolves from being so mad that he dies,
so funny,
and he looks so cool.
Primate as a species, that brings me back to the anime, because one of the most memorable episodes of the early anime is when he had the Mankey, and then he had the sort of wrestling boxing match thing with it. And so I've always also really loved Primate. So yeah, the fact that he just gets so angry and dies is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then so those are my three, but I do want to say there's a couple designs that I really like. I haven't used a lot of these Pokemon yet, but I do want to go back and use them. Like King Gambit looks so cool.
Yeah.
The second I saw that, I'm like, that Pokemon is so cool looking.
You know what takes you a minute to realize? He's sitting on his hair.
Yeah.
I kept watching the animation because I thought that it was like a rock, and then I'm like, it kind of looks like his hair.
Yeah.
And I just kept having to watch the animation to see if it actually was his hair, if it was something that was disappearing.
Yeah.
So cool.
When I figured that out, I was like, wait, what?
And then Rabska looks really cool too. Like that's a bug Pokemon that I'm like, that looks cool.
Have you seen the shiny version of its of Roller? Is that the
Roller?
It has a golden nugget. Yeah.
That's really cool.
I think having the different textures is a good move.
Oh yeah.
And then Toadscruel looks really cool.
Yes.
I also really like Toadscruel. I had one of those in my run through, and even though he was also a grass type, I ended up having two grass types on my team just because I liked him a lot.
I kind of like Toadscool better than I like Toadscruel, just because he's just walking around in his two little leggies.
Okay, what about you, Jeremy?
Top three? I mean, if you know me, you know how much I love the Ralts line. And so anytime the Ralts line gets any sort of added benefit, I love it. Iron Valiant is possibly my new favorite Pokemon of all time. I think it's a really great, I like that it is a mashup. It's not like clearly Gardevoir or clearly Gallade. It is very much a mixture of the two. And with Fighting and Fairy being my two favorite typings, it was just a match made in heaven. So, and I like how it has the blades on its arms, but then when it gets ready to fight, it takes them off and turns it into that staff thing.
Oh, cool! I never even saw it in fights. So
yeah, so if it's just standing there, it has the blades on its arms. But when it starts to fight, it takes them off and makes like a weapon out of it.
Yeah, it's like a double-sided,
like a sort of double-sided blade type thing.
Yeah.
So that was always going to be my favorite, no matter what it was. But it also is really, really good too. The Paradox Pokemon, they're basically like one in each game that has higher stats than the others.
Mm-hmm.
And Iron Valiant is that one in Violet. So they, of course, gave the Ralts line more love because they always do. But that was always going to be my favorite. My second favorite is not one I expected initially, but Palafin. I think Palafin is a great Pokemon.
I haven't evolved my Finizen yet.
Oh man, when you see its evolution, you're like, that's really underwhelming. It gains a heart on its chest. That's it. That's all it does. But then when you see its ability 0 to hero, it sort of goes back to that sort of old school superhero thing where they have to like go away and change their costume and then they come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that Pokemon is based on Superman.
It is based on Superman. Yep. And they also give you a move, Flip Turn, which is a hit and run move.
Yeah.
So for a lot of the game, I used him the most because I would have him at the front, Flip Turn, and then he would go back to the party, and then I would use whatever else I wanted. Mm-hmm. And then I would have the hero form in the back, which is like the stats on that hero form are pseudo-legendary levels.
Yeah,
it is a really, really strong Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love the uniqueness of its design. You know, just it has to go back to the back of your party and then comes back out as a superhero. As a comic book nerd, that really appealed to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then my number 3, I think, is actually a lot of people's favorite in this generation, and it's Tinkaton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I figured it would be Tinkaton. I knew you liked that Pokemon.
Tinkaton initially was going to be like one of my favorites because they'd revealed that before they had revealed Iron Valiant.
Mm-hmm.
But then Iron Valiant immediately became my favorite, and then Palafin just kind of snuck in there.
Mm-hmm.
But Fairy Steel is always going to be really strong typing.
Yeah.
And I always really like whatever combination they have with it. I really like Mawile. I really like Klefki. And it's just such a good defensive typing. And this Pokemon leans into that defensive typing.
Mm-hmm.
All of its stats are in defense. So it's not going to hit super hard, but man, will it just tank so many things.
I mean, the hammer attacks are pretty strong.
Yeah, well, it is. It's actually the one of the strongest, like, just regular damages in the game, but you can't use it twice in a row.
Yeah, that's true.
So they did give it enough of a negative. Yeah. And unless you're in raids. I think that's the one time where I found that really inconvenient.
Mm-hmm.
Is when you're trying to do like the higher star raids where otherwise Tinkaton would be really good.
Yeah.
But Gigaton Hammer, you can't use it twice in a row.
Yeah.
So overall thoughts of this game. Where would you put this in your overall favorite Pokemon games?
I think it would have to rank different places for different things.
Mm-hmm.
I personally kind of like Legends Arceus better because it's I think I would like it better if it wasn't fully open world.
I agree.
I think it did not benefit from being open world. I think it would have been better without being fully open world. I liked all of the stories. I think it's top 2 or 3. There was a lot of interesting new evolution methods, which was really cool. I like seeing new stuff that's not just trading with an item or trading at all. Please stop doing trading evolutions. I hate them. I don't have
so many friends you can be trading with.
Well, no one's willing to trade with me.
You just need to like message us and be like, "Hey, trade me real quick."
Trade evolutions, yeah. It's not like the old days. You don't have to meet with someone and have a charge cord to do.
In the old days, I just had 2 Game Boys and a link cable for myself. I liked it. There were some things I really, really wanted to be improved. But overall, pretty solid. Other than walking evolutions and having your Pokemon not be able to keep up with you is annoying because whenever I was trying to evolve those Pokemon, was like crouch walking the whole time so that they didn't disappear into the Pokeballs.
I basically had to slow walk across the desert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you guys? Where would you put it in yours?
High up. I really liked it. I liked that it was open world. I think Sarah's right that um, there's a lot of places that feel empty and that they could have done more. With the fact that it's an open world game, one thing that they kind of needed to do is more like side quests. Because you have 3 storylines, so that's in a way kind of like side quests, I guess. But like there kind of needs to be a little more there. But what I like about it is it's allowing Pokemon to figure out how to make it an open world game. I feel like they're going to keep going this way, and I think this is a good stepping stone for that. I know a lot of people are like pissed off about the game because of like the technical like stuff, but honestly, I play a lot of video games. I like video games. I like RPGs and open world games. When open world games come out, almost every single time, there's a lot of like technical stuff. I played through, like when it came out on a PlayStation 4, I played through Cyberpunk.
Oh, buddy.
And I like that game. The story is great in that game. But yeah, the technical problems in that game compared to Pokemon, like it's not that big of a deal. Like there's some crashes.
I don't normally have trouble with glitches. The problem that bugged me for the Pokemon technicality was that it didn't run at the speed it should be running on a native software. Like the fact that there were people chunking by.
So as far as technical difficulties, I think a lot of it can be explained by the fact that Pokemon in particular is a franchise that is on a schedule. They are so Breath of the Wild was supposed to come out in 2022. They delayed it. So that game will come out looking really, really good and really, really polished because they took the extra time to do it. The Pokemon Company does not have the ability, especially with new generation games, to delay their gameplay, because if you delay the video game, then you're delaying the TCG, you're delaying the anime, you're delaying all these other things that require the video game to exist.
They definitely worked themselves into a weird corner with their model. Like new Pokemon every edition. Well, we can't have all of them because now we're in our thousands.
And somewhere we're getting pretty weird design-wise. And I think every generation has had Pokemon that you're just like, what the heck is that? That doesn't exist. Even Generation 1. But that's the main reason why I think this game came out kind of as a little unfinished, is because they were on a timeline that they could not push back. I also think that this game was actually made for a newer Switch hardware, because Nintendo was intending to announce a new game system last year as well, which they pushed back. So if this game, in theory, were being designed for a new system and couldn't have been pushed back, then it had to have been immediately pared down a little bit, which could have caused the sort of memory leak that caused the issues.
Okay. I'll accept it.
So what about you, Jer? Where
so I actually think this is probably a solid number 2 for me. X and Y will always be my favorite game. Nothing's beat it before. Nothing probably will beat it after. The Pokedex in that game was just too perfect for me. Like, I just loved so many of the Pokemon from that generation. And it kind of was the first to leap into the sort of the technological level that existed before the Switch. Took it from like the 2D to the 3D. And it really just gave it a new life and a new look. So X and Y will always be my favorite, but this is a solid number 2 because I think the story is probably the best story they've ever made. The Pokedex is probably also one of my favorites. For all the Pokemon that you guys mentioned as your favorites, I also really love the design of. Basically, other than Flamigo, who also still has a really great name, I like pretty much every new Pokemon they made for one reason or another.
Yep. Oh, I actually have to mention another one of my favorites that I kind of forgot to put in there is Golden Go. And like his design is weird, but if you have him like walking around with you, the way he does it, he has a surfboard, like a golden surfboard, and he like floats around. He's a silver surfer.
Yeah.
Like it's awesome.
Yeah.
And he's a stack of coins, so like it makes.
I still think he looks a little bit too much like a string cheese mascot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the best one I saw compared to him was that old the Apple Jacks cinnamon stick.
That's exactly who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked Gimme Ghoul, the one you can't catch, the free roaming one. When I first saw little Gimme Ghoul, the flat version, again, much better in animation. As soon as I saw him moving, I was like, oh my God, I love this little gingerbread goblin.
Yeah. And I love how they're just like, oh God, and they run away.
I'm annoyed that you can only catch the out of the chest version in Pokemon Go, because I'm in the middle of nowhere, so I can't play Pokemon Go because I can't get stuff.
Yeah, that would be one of the toughest things I think about living where you are, being a Pokemon fan, is Pokemon Go is just not a thing for you.
Yeah. I tried to get up to the right level to like
Go at all.
It gets you out, and it gets. So I still do it because it gives me my nerdy ass a reason to walk.
Yeah.
So in the summertime, I go almost every day to the park and just walk around. Like it's actually healthy for me.
Nice.
You also have a kid, so it makes
and that helps too. Yeah. But I would put it at like a solid number 2, I think.
Nice.
So we'll touch a lot more on terrestrialization and what that mechanic does in the competitive
fun
video
hacks, that's all it does.
How did you guys feel about terrestrialization though?
I think I didn't use it outside of like, and even sometimes in gym battles I didn't use it. I didn't use it outside of gym battles like at all. Because I know that it's probably much better for competitive because you can kind of like set up your Pokemon to be a little bit of a reverse switch. But like when you're just playing against the AI and all you have to do is blast it hard with whatever, it didn't make sense for me to, change Terra types. And then when I did have the Pokemon that had the weird Terra types, I was like, I don't really know how to use this. I'd rather just like have my Skeledirge, get a little bit stronger in fire, and blast things. Like,
I agree. What about you, Ed?
So I kind of like it because it does switch things up a little bit, because you can surprise people with like the terrestrialization. It also, of the like gimmicks of the games, like kind of as they went, it kind of went in a different way. Instead of it being like you do this to like fully annihilate something, it's more defensive. Like it can be offensive, but it's, for the most part, the best reason to use it is defensively, because you can have a Pokemon, like a great example is Gyarados. If you give Gyarados a ground type Terra type, you take its incredibly bad weakness and give it an immunity. Like that's really good. And I like the Terra raid battles. I like that they're the stars and you can kind of like figure that out. I also like that it shows you what Terra type, like on the map, that you're going for. So you can kind of figure that out. And the fact that I think I like the Terra raid battles more than the mechanic itself. Just because if you do a 5-star den, whatever Pokemon you got in there has 5 maxed out stats. Like the Pokemon are better. So it's worth doing those things. And I like that they did they're doing like the mightiest mark ones, like the 7-star raids, because they're challenging and you actually have to like build for them, and like you do kind of have to play with people or like play online with like random people, which does actually work okay for the most part. Like sometimes you get really random. You're like, why did you do that?
Well, like that Cinderace one that we just did. Like it took us like 2 hours, but when we did it, it was really rewarding and was really fun. At the end of it.
I'm kind of bummed about those because I haven't even unlocked the 5-star terror raids yet, and there's no way that I've missed them at this point. And I don't really like anything that requires you to interact with other people that you might not know. Like, I think being able to play with your friends is great. Being required to, like, I am not comfortable reaching out to people even if I know them really, really well. So,
well, next time when we're getting ready to do the Greninja raids that are coming up, we'll reach out to you and we'll drag you in with us.
I won't be there yet. Because I don't have the 5 stars.
You got time to get there. Get there.
I don't even know how to get there.
And actually, you don't even have to have them unlocked if one of us invites you to it.
Yeah. Also, it's just the end game stuff. You just have to do end game.
But I've done the in game stuff.
We should be getting
you also have to beat like a certain number of something starred. I think you have to beat a certain number of 5-starred ones
in order to unlock
to get the other ones. So.
Yeah, it's just. I think it's just doing those, and like I think you might have to talk to some of the teachers.
No, just do the raids.
Is it just do the raids?
Yeah, okay. Just Club Hall will tell you like, oh, you got to do X number of 5-star raids. I believe it's 5 even. I'm not entirely sure, but the Terastallization is a cool mechanic. I think it's probably, as far as ranking of battle mechanics, it's right underneath Mega Evolution. I think Mega Evolution's still the coolest. Although I do wish they would have had Megas for like everybody. Because how like Gigantamaxing and Terastallization can be done by any Pokemon. It would have been cool if every Pokemon could Mega Evolve, but in my opinion, Mega is still the pinnacle of those sort of battle mechanics.
Yeah.
I
mostly just don't like the stupid hats. I think that's my problem.
I am interested to see the legendary that is tied to Terastallization in the DLC.
Well, so if sort of rumors are to believe, it might be Zygarde.
I don't feel like they're gonna bring back an old legendary. And it mentioned this. I mean, maybe because of the hexagons, but it feels weird to bring back an old legendary to be like the main part of your new mechanic.
There's a pretty convincing argument as to why Kalos would be the DLC.
Fair enough. If Kalos is the DLC, then I could see it.
Just because, like, geographically, like as our world relates to the Pokemon world, there is that chunk over in the top right corner
where they've got sealed off for the DLC. Yeah.
But and the thing that like adds to that idea is it's visibly there though. So there's a lot of reason to believe that Kalos will be the DLC, which would lead itself to being Zygarde.
If that's the case, I could believe it being Zygarde, but it just feels weird to bring back an old. I mean, it would be a new. Maybe it could be a past or future Paradox version of it. That would be interesting.
So that would be an interesting idea if it were like a future Zygarde. I can see past Zygarde. I don't even know what that would look like. But.
Right. I don't know. It mentioned a shell. It's a turtle now.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a lot of interesting ideas. And it could still entirely be something new, as well as sort of harping back to Kalos.
Just give me more stuff for the ruinous Pokemon. That's all I want.
Yeah, I really wish. I agree. I think one of the best things you said is that they should have had more of a story.
They should have any story for it. Like,
yeah, really nothing. I mean, basically, unless you read their Pokedex entries, you don't know anything.
They could build a whole game around them, I think.
Yeah, I'm excited for DLC this coming year, and I really do hope that they release some DLC and then they take some time off after that.
That'd be nice.
I'm a ravenous Pokemon fan. I want more games. I want more content, but at the same time, it has become a thing where they need to stop and make things a little bit better. And all the glitches that we kind of barely touched on, it's become more apparent that they need to stop for a minute. So give us DLC this year, of course, and then don't make a remake next year. Just let it sit for a minute, and maybe that's what they'll do with the DLC being a Kalos remake. I mean, they would kind of be skipping over Gen 5, but they could sort of channel this as the remake for X and Y, and then just stop for a year. And I think that would be the best plan for them going forward.
Yeah. I think, they definitely need to do something about that formula they've boxed themselves into. But I feel like in order to do it, they kind of need to really piss off some people.
Well, I mean, right now they could stop, right? Because the games that they cannot push back are the new generation games. Because, as I said, the anime and the TCG both need that information. But now the anime and the TCG can run for a couple of years without needing anything new.
You just reminded me that they're finally moving on from Ash.
That
feels like it's got to be a whole nother.
That's actually. So I really wish. I know neither of you really particularly paid attention to the anime.
I used to.
So I've seen every episode of the anime, partly because I have a kid, and so I watched it with him. But Ashley in the anime is a little emotional, actually.
I guess it's been so long since I watched, and it's just always been Ash. I really like the other animations they do, like the Pokemon TV that they do for like kids on YouTube. Love it. The little
shorts.
This girl gets lost and turns into a Gengar. So good. These little slice of life pieces. Love them. I loved the mini series they did that had. I don't even remember what it was, but I loved it.
Yeah, I like the anime, but there's a lot of it that was just very samey. You know, Team Rocket would always get blasted off, and there's a lot of things that just happened in every episode that got really annoying. But it is still kind of emotional, just because 10-year-old me remembers seeing Ash for the first time and all of that, and it's really bookended by the fact that the first episode is called Pokemon I Choose You, right? And Ash's final episode, as being the lead of the anime, is called Pokemon I'm Glad I Chose You.
Aww.
And that to me is just like, oh, so cute. Like,
is it true that he gets his Butterfree back?
So I'm not sure. I haven't watched the last part of it yet.
I heard the Butterfree comes back.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably just will attempt to punch you in the nostalgia at every given opportunity in this last little bit.
I kind of want to go back and actually watch from the Sun and Moon series, because I liked the animation change. I know a lot of people didn't, but it was such a different. It gave me enough of a difference from the old Pokemon that I was like, I might want to watch again.
Did you see X and Y? Yeah, the anime X and Y. Watch that one first.
Okay.
And that's not just because I love Kalos. Like, that genuinely was the peak of the anime.
I haven't watched in a very long time.
Yeah, X and Y, they got rid of having Team Rocket do their thing every single episode. Like, they still did it variously, but not in every episode. They got a little bit more serious. Like, his relationship to his companions was better than it ever has been, in my opinion. The animation was better. They did a lot more involved battles. So if you want to check out an anime, X and Y, I think, is the one you want to check out.
Okay.
The fact that you said you like the animation for Sun and Moon is that's devastating to me.
It's a different style, I kind of like the more saturated, rounder style.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. This is a great discussion, guys. I'm glad we got to actually get together and discuss this, because I know we've been trying to get it together for a little while. Yeah. Most other people have had their Scarlet and Violet content, but it's good that we took the time to really absorb a lot of things and see what's happened after. Before we go, anything else you guys want to say about these games?
I need one of you to just help me with trade evolutions real quick.
Absolutely. How about I'll get a hold of you tomorrow. We can take care of that.
All right.
Yeah. Well, if that's it, guys, thank you so much for joining me. We're big time Pokemon nerds, and I always love talking about this. We could do another hour if we wanted to about this. I appreciate you guys coming on, and I appreciate everybody watching. And we're going to start trying to get content out consistently again, and hopefully we can keep that up because I love doing these episodes with you guys, and I hope it brings a little bit of joy to anybody who does watch it. So until next time, keep it nerdy out there.